Hey, this is Akiva from Twisted Tree Farm. I'm talking about bottom heat. It's just another tool you can use for rooting cuttings. I've set up a lot of different bottom heat things over the years, and it's a really simple tool that I've found extremely useful for rooting cuttings more effectively and being able to root varieties that I couldn't otherwise. So I've set it up in my basement, I've set it up on the porch, I've set it up outside. Here's just one setup. They all are kind of the same thing. But what you're really going for is cold tops and warm bottom. So right now there's snow on the ground. It's pretty cold. It's about 35 degrees or something. And we've had a lot of nights in the 20s. But so that's going to help keep these cuttings dormant. They're started to wake up because it is the middle of April. These cuttings I stuck in probably 3 weeks ago or something like that. And I've got haskaps and gummies and grapes and aronias. And so what I think about with cuttings is it's really like a race between rooting and rotting. Like the stick is either going to rot or it's going to root. And one of those two things is going to happen. And you want it to root before it rots, obviously. And so when you cut something, when you cut a stem, it has to heal. So if you cut a stick and you cut a bush or a tree, you make a wound, that wound has to close up. And most plants can't do that unless they have a temperature that's warm enough, right? So if it's extremely cold, they can't form that callus tissue and heal the wound over. So if we provide a warm bottom and the soil's warm, then the cuttings can then they can close up, they can heal their wounds, and they can form that callus tissue. And it's from that callus tissue that you're going to get roots forming. So there's some grapes, and I don't know, I'll just pick a random one, and hopefully it's a good one. Yeah, look at that. So it's actually tied to the other one. So you can see that callus tissue. You can see the root there too, but what I'm really trying to show you is the callus tissue. So where the stick got cut, it formed this white, thick callus, and if it does that, that means it's really healing, right? And then from that callus tissue, it can do that. Now, if I planted these grapes just in cold soil, then they might heal, but they'll take a long time. They're going to basically wait until the soil warms up. Even really easy to root stuff like elderberries or willows, they're not actually going to callus and root until the soil temperature warms up, which will be much later, like in June or something like that. And by then, the plant is making leaves and drawing water, so it's a little bit stressful, even for easy to root stuff. So what you want is the roots to form first, then the leaves. You don't want a lot of top growth before you have the roots in place. So the idea with the cold top and the warm bottom is the roots have a chance to build before they have to support leaves. And so I set it up. I have a simple heating cable here, and let's see, it's just this cable, and it runs back and forth under all of these trays, under all these shelves. It's hard to see while they're here, but anyway, there's this cable, and it just goes, and then I have it zigzagging back and forth underneath all the trays, and it's sitting on a piece of insulation, and I put a little bit of sand to distribute the heat evenly. But you can get these heating cables. You can buy specifically soil heating cables, or you can buy like heating cables for de-icing gutters, and that's what this one is. It's just meant for de-icing gutters, and people actually weave this back and forth on their roof just above the gutters to prevent ice from building up. But it's going to get pretty hot, and it's going to keep warming the soil up, but you want to be able to regulate the temperature of the soil. So anyway, I'll show you what I do. I have this set up. It's called a heat mat thermostat, and right now it's at 77.7 degrees. So I think I have it set for like 80 or something, and you plug in your heating cable into the heat mat thermostat. So my hand here with the pinky, that's the cord of the heating cable, and then the heat mat thermostat just plugs right into the wall. And then there's this thermometer, this wire, and it's just a soil probe. And I just have it stuck in here, and you just jam it. It's just a little probe, and you just jam it in, and it's taking the temperature of the soil, and it'll shut off if the soil gets too warm. So I can set it for whatever I want. I usually set things at about 75 degrees. I feel like that's a pretty nice soil temperature for things to heal. And that's pretty much it. And people are probably asking about media. You want well-drained media. I just have a mix of perlite and coconut fiber. Sand is probably the best, but it's also very heavy. So I have like a, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but down the way there I have another heat mat set up, which is all filled with gooseberries and hascaps right now. And those are just sitting in 100% sand. And I think that works the best. But this coconut fiber works well. And yeah, so anyway, cold top, warm bottom, that's the main thing to consider. I don't want this like in a greenhouse or something, making the tops wake up. The longer I can keep the tops dormant, the better. A lot of times I've set this up and I've had like fully rooted plants, like well rooted before they even make leaves, and that's the best. And then I can just plant them out, and then they can grow in a nursery bed for a year and become really huge, healthy plants in one season. These are starting to wake up, so I'm going to have to baby them when I plant them out. I'm going to have to water them. But if they had stayed dormant, like those grapes, the grapes are still dormant, so I could plant them out once the snow melts, and then I'll have a very easy time transplanting them because they won't have to do any kind of transplant shock. They won't need a lot of water. Whereas the stuff that's leafing out, I'll have to pay more attention to. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. And I'm happy that lots of people are propagating plants these days. Peace.